Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Our VIP featured guest is also known as the Queen of Pattern. She is a highly creative stylist and founder of Daisy Bennett LLC, a brand that has made a significant mark in the world of wall coverings. With over 20 years of experience, she has been adorning homes worldwide with her vibrant colors and modern takes on classic patterns. Her journey took her from Toronto to Chicago, and she became an American citizen along the way. Her designs have been brought to life and produced in countries like Italy, Spain, New Zealand, France, and England. Silhouettes. Let's bring on Jaima Brown-Emmert to the show. Hello, Jaima. How are you?
Good morning, Amber. I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
Well,
I'm
thank
honored.
you for joining us. I am honored. Back at you, my lady. Oh, I'm so tickled to connect with you and share this. I always call it kind of a guilty one-on-one time I get to spend with you, but I know we're sharing you with the audience, and I am so tickled to showcase you. So this is going to be fun.
Well, thank you. Yes, it is actually.
Yay. All right, my lady, to kick off the conversation, I know a little bit about you, but I want you to share maybe more of the shaping of your silhouette of success with the audience. So let's kick it off by having you share more about your background.
Well, I had British parents, and I think growing up with a lot of wallpaper in a house subtly influenced me, not knowing that later I would end up in a career with wallpaper. But we did travel, and my parents had the big garden and they loved flowers. And I think today that's why I love flowers and the color and nature, because, English, they have beautiful rose gardens and peonies. And I think it shaped me where I like the traditional patterns with beautiful flowers. I sort of really respect nature because of that. And so because of seeing all these things traveling, it sort of opened my eye with color. And what was interesting, I was traveling with my parents. I used to take them on design trips with me when I worked with this big corporation, and they'd share a room with me. And one morning my mother was saying, I was getting dressed, for the conference. And my mother looked over at me and she said, now you have 3 more outfits to go. I said, what are you talking about? I said, well, until it's just right, you're not going to be ready to go out the door. That's why you were always late for the school bus. And so I thought about that, and I had no idea I was aware of doing this. And really, it has shaped me why I style. That's what we call styling collections. I'm a visionary, and I style collections. So I've been doing this ever since I was younger with clothing, and it just transformed into wallpaper as a career later. And it's just fascinating how those little things that you don't know you're aware of you're doing is really part of your genius zone, I guess you'd call it.
I love that. And how magical that she pointed that out to you.
I know. And my parents aren't here today. They passed away. But, when I look back, I think it's amazing how they make you aware of things you're not even aware of. Right?
Until it's just right. I love that. I love that. Oh, how magical. So we're going to dive into Daisy Bennett and what you do and all of those things. But before we get into that, let's pull back and talk about a day in the life of. So the alarm clock goes off, and as your work or business day begins, what's a day in the life look like for you? As a creative, are you spontaneous or are you more structured with a routine? Talk to us about what works for you.
Well, I'm not that structured, but I'm trying to become more structured because I know when you're structured, you get more done. So when because I'm a little ADD and I like lots of variety. So when I get up, I've got this new thing I'm trying to do. I meditate in the morning for 10 minutes. I journal a little and I try to write out what I'm going to do for the day because I like to have it clear in my mind. And then another thing I've learned from another book is try to visualize, which I never did before. Try to take 5 minutes and visualize the future. And I think this is a good thing because we're not really trained to look for the future in our minds. We're always so busy with the now. And so what I like to do is just think of a future, and it doesn't, just something you want to manifest, because usually those things do come to fruition if you really focus on it. So I do a little of that. Then I go to yoga. Not every morning, but I go to yoga or I'll go walking. And then I'll start my day. And my day could start with either coloring a pattern because I'm getting ready. Right now I'm actually designing 3 groups of patterns. So I've got the master pattern done and I'm working on the coordinates. And this is for my distributors because we want to make some more peel and stick and make some more wallpaper groupings because I've just launched my mural collection. So I'm working on new patterns to move forward. And so some days I'll be coloring, like yesterday I spent the whole day just organizing my fabrics because I'm moving into fabrics as well and getting them ready for a meeting, getting, the squares. I ordered my fabrics and I've got the squares and I took them to the upholsterer to sew the 27 by 27 because I've got a meeting in a month with some designers in Tampa. And then like later today, I'll be looking at a banana leaf design I'm working on, seeing if it's okay because I have a painter who paints for me. And so I direct all the images and designs. And so I'll review that, see what's right, what's not, see if the technique's right, sort of like art directing, and then we'll move forward. And so it slowly progresses that way. Some days I'm just all about working on companions. Some days, the other day I was just making mood boards and researching colors and trends. That's my favorite part, just looking up things and researching and putting it together and trying to figure out the puzzle, right? What really looks good with this sort of master cheetah design I've done. And so that's kind of where it goes in days. Some days I planned to do a photo shoot, so I'm preparing for that. And, my stories, what I want to educate people on about wallpaper. And then some days I actually hang wallpaper. Like the other day I did a little video about peel and stick. I thought, I better try it. I make it. I better try it. So that was quite a challenge, but I got it done.
How did that go for you?
It was good. It was actually good. It's amazing. It's because the other mural I hung myself, and that was quite an ordeal. But the peel and stick, it was quite fun. It's fast. It's not as messy. It's a little trickier than I thought. If you have to have a very smooth wall, and but I just did a little area just to try it, and it's amazing how it can transform a space. I'm so happy people can get pattern to put in their home or their apartment, because for so many years, people just have it all boring and plain, and now they can put it up and they can take it down if they don't own their home. It's so great to add, some flair into their home and bring some color into their life.
Yes, bringing that really a value opportunity and really expanding what you're doing. And that happiness, it brings happiness.
Oh,
Like you talk about the
totally.
color. Oh my goodness. So talking through, you mentioned your parents' influence in your life, in your upbringing, the creative play about getting it just right, and you just also mentioned something else, which does go back to just the authenticity of your passion for what you do. And you talked about when you were doing the mood boards and the trends and putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So you do love that. Who do you think most influenced you as you embarked upon your career path?
Well, I always looked at big designers. I was always looking at high-end design because I was fascinated by their creativity, how they thought outside the box. So I always looked at high fashion. But one person who was very influential was my late husband, and taking the risk to move to America because he just believed so much in me. And because I did do that, I got to start my own brand. And that was a big growing phase where getting out in front of designers and learning what they want and talking to them about what's happening in design, that sort of formulated a lot of my career. Even when I worked at the company up in Canada, I used to go out on research trips and visiting interior designers and showrooms and talking to them and seeing what was going on. That sort of shaped what I made, what influenced me. But mostly it was more, fashion and sort of fashion museum shows, things like that. I'd go see something, it's like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's make that into a pattern. So things like that do influence me.
Beautiful. All right, my lady, talk to us about Daisy Bennett Designs. Dive into the inspiration that led you to launch and create your company. I want you to give us the updates on great things happening, because you just mentioned the launch of the mural collection. So tell us more.
It's really about fate, because when I was working for this company in Canada, what happened was, I made this collection and I wanted to move up. You know how you're looking at the next person up thinking, oh, I want to be a design director, whatever, right? But then one day I realized in a meeting, they're never going to move me up. They're just going to keep me where I was. So I started looking, and eventually I got this job and moved to Chicago. And that was a big change in my life, just taking a risk, moving there. And everything just fell into place. And sometimes I think you have to make a change in your life that actually will propel you to the next level. Because if I hadn't moved to America, I wouldn't have my own brand. When I started designing for S.A. Maxwell, designers now were saying, we think you should have your own brand. You should have your name on a book. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's what started it all, is because people were asking for it. And so once we started that, it just kept growing and growing, and we just kept making collections and collections. And then today I still make wallpaper collections for interior designers in the upper end market. And it's kind of interesting how it just developed. But I think faith and fate had a lot to do with it. You are where you're supposed to be. But if you don't venture forth and take a risk, you can't really get to the next point, right? So take a risk. And just designing a collection, I remember the first time I designed a collection, I was so scared to death, because you're sort of putting your art out there, you're putting your vision out there. It is a bit scary. You're not sure if it's going to sell. And then once of course you have some failures, but you fail forward, as I call it, and you learn. I learned, okay, sometimes I'd come home and, oh my gosh, I'd cry, think, why am I doing this? I'm no good at designing. And then I'd say, no, let's learn what I went out on the road. They didn't like this. Let's fix it. Let's make it what people want, right? It's all about giving people what they want. And then, of course, then the collection would turn around and sell. And that's how it evolved. And then I started, like 5 years ago, I designed this beautiful mural, because I love murals, and I love chinoiserie. It's like classic pattern that goes with modern or traditional. It goes with so many styles of furniture. And so what I found, that I wanted to make it on this silver ground, but we couldn't print it then. But technology has really helped us progress. And so now I can have these beautiful, we originally hand paint our murals, but now we can print them on like real grass cloths. So they look hand painted. And so now we can offer them to more people at, you don't have to spend a fortune, $40,000 for your dining room. We can bring beauty into your home at a reasonable price, with a high-end, luxury look. And so once that developed, I'm just so ecstatic about the mural collection, because we can print on these beautiful grass cloths and sisals and cork. It's really transformed the look of wallpaper, of high-end wallpaper. It's really beautiful. And so that's what really excites me now. And so the next level is, I'd like to even try to go to the beading. That's even more complicated, but at least we've got this part figured out, to make homes really luxurious and beautiful with these grass cloths and these natural textures.
It is an art and a science.
It is a science. It's true, because, couldn't do it years ago. It's amazing how things change, and then you can do it.
Wow. So fascinating to hear you able to reflect from the feedback that you received, and you embraced and acknowledged the emotions that you went through. You allowed that, you talked about, coming home and crying, but then
Oh, yeah.
fixing it, and, giving the consumers what we want. A lot of people might not have the courage to continue through that path and really be able to see the bigger picture there. So how amazing. Good for you.
Well, it's always a risk, but because, you listen to lots of people, but you just got to get it out, and then hopefully, you hope you've got the right pattern and color. And, sometimes it's innate. Sometimes I just want to make something because it's so beautiful. I just have to make it. Like certain patterns I've wanted to make for years, and then I finally got to make them. So I guess you just have to be persistent.
In the timing too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Right.
especially as a creative.
Right.
Sometimes it's not always coming to you. It's not that time. It's not that time.
Oh, totally agree with that. It took me 4 years to figure out and move to America. And actually, I got a job in New York, but I ended up going to Chicago just because it felt right. I remember hanging up the phone and I thought, I'm going to go to Chicago. I'm not going to New York. And, it was the best decision ever. But I did listen to my gut, because if you don't do what feels right, that's when you get in trouble.
Yes, agree. Thinking on that, similar thought process, and trusting that intuition and the gut. When you maybe have a seeming barrier between you and a goal or a dream, how do you get unstuck to pursue that? Do you have any best practices that work for you to share with us?
Well, that's something new I'm working on, because I used to be terrified to pick up the phone, and after my husband passed away, my career, my business kind of changed a lot, and you can't wait. What I've realized in the last couple of years, it's kind of like growing, and you realize, if I'm responsible for my life, I know it sounds like a silly thing to say, but I just have to pick up the phone and not be afraid. They're just people. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to move up to a level you want to move up to, or create something you've never made before. So it's just really taking a step and not being afraid. But it does take a lot of courage. And I do sometimes do breathing. Like, I've listened to podcasts and other social media things where, I've made a lot of mistakes. Pick up the phone and blah, 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 talk like that. Just like, no, be calm, take a breath, do some breathing exercises. And really, I'm working on my mindful thinking about, because, your brain wants to keep you doing the same thing all the time, and to step out to try something new. It is scary, but we just have to say, you know what? It's not the end of the day. Let's just try it. What's the worst thing that can happen? Right? So you
Isn't
just,
that interesting? Yeah. What's the
so I'm
worst
just,
thing that can happen?
well, like,
Yeah.
I'm trying the fabrics now. I haven't sold a lot yet, but I'm moving forward. I'm just going to keep going at it. I'm going to keep doing my wallpaper and just see what happens. Eventually, hopefully, get into bedding. I'm just going to keep trying and making things and pushing it out there. That's the nice thing about social media now, is that you can sort of get in front of people and show them.
It is definitely an asset and a phenomenal tool to use for that. And in the audience, just to a reminder that we're going to have all of your links when we let you share those here in a little bit in the show notes. And so you'll be one click away. But when they get to see everything that you do and just the presentation and all of your magnificently vibrant and beautiful arts, I call it, they're works of art.
Well, they
And
are
your
actually.
videos are phenomenal too.
Oh, well,
You do.
that's been a learning and a growing. I signed up. I was in a video course for many months, and I've been learning a lot, because you can just make a video, but it doesn't work. But there's a whole thing to do proper videos behind them, and so I have a lot to grow and learn there. But it is fun to share everything with people. I mean, I want to get people excited about adding pattern and color into their home, because I do think it will transform how they feel every morning. Get up and look at a beautiful wall with wallpaper or a bedding, or, I really do think it'll make you happier.
Well, there's definite neuroscience. I'm not that expert, but I have talked with them.
Right.
So I know there's studies about that. So as an independent business owner, businesswoman, and creative, where do you find support?
Well, my family, close friends, people have known me for like years and years. Close friends are very supportive, and they're like, just don't worry about it. Just go and do it. You can do this. When you're taking forever to do something, they're like, just do it. You're going to do it. You're going to be fine. And so my brother, and then I just joined, I do go to some entrepreneur, like I went to the Pink Creatives. When I go to those events, I always learn and meet wonderful people, and I grow, and I'm now part of a mastermind. And just having that support, that's a new thing for me. So I'm just learning that, to have more support from outside groups and just family and friends. And having a person in your life who really, like my late husband, someone who believes in you, that's really important for support, I think. Because if you're not around that, you need to be around people who support you. It's important.
How do you maybe recharge yourself or recharge your batteries, as they say, your mindset? You touched on that a little bit earlier. After just an emotionally draining or exhausting situation, what works for you? How do you reset?
Well, I like to cook. So I like to cook. I like to have dinner parties with friends. Love to ski. I like to watch movies and do puzzles and, read colorful designer magazines. But mostly I like the cooking part and put a little show on in the background and I'm cooking and just, that's really what I like to do.
It's your escape.
It is an escape.
Yeah, lovely. Thinking through, you've talked about all these changes. This is typically a two-part question. Was there ever a specific point in time or event in your life or key situation that forced you to take a monumental shift within your business or career? And the result of that, positive or painful, how did going through that help you grow?
Well, I remember, I think I said this a little bit earlier. I remember I worked for a big company in Canada and it was great. We used to go to Paris and Germany in England on business trips and designing. It was a lot of fun going to shows. But then I was making all these collections. I was helping other collections and I really wanted to move up. But then I realized in this big corporation, they were never going to move me up. Just one day we were in this big meeting and then here my collections were selling, outrageous. So I had one collection that sold like 2 million rolls. It was record. And then I really wanted to move up so I could become more of an art director, but they didn't want to move me up. And I realized nothing's going to change. So then I started looking, and that's when I finally, I got recognized after that book was selling so well. I got recognized by, the company in America. And then I finally eventually moved to America. And that was a big change for me because I'd worked for that company for 18 years. I'm very, I guess not really risk averse. When I was growing and learning, and I learned from the bottom up all about wallpaper at a factory. So it was a big move to, America. I know it sounds, America and Canada are the same, but it's not. You're moving to a new country, a new area, don't know anyone. But that was a great experience because I had no idea by doing that, I fell in love. I got to travel the world. Literally, we went around the world to see customers. My wallpaper sold worldwide. It is. And so I got to see customers all over the world. I mean, things I never thought I'd go to, countries I never thought I'd go to. I went to Korea to see how the grass cloths are made. It's just been amazing. And making wallpaper in different countries too, because before that, I'd only made it in England and Canada. But then I got to make it in Spain and Italy, New Zealand. I mean, it was such a growing experience. It was hard because I'd go and work by myself, but then come home. And it was a great experience because I like traveling. And I think that's why, as my friends call me, I'm a bit of a gypsy, but, traveling, you get to see new ideas and it inspires you. One time I went to New Zealand and you always get there really early in the morning. And you can't go to bed right away because then you'll be exhausted to start working the next day at the factory. So I usually, in New Zealand, in Wellington, they have this beautiful museum. And I thought, okay, I'm going to sleep for 2 hours and I'm going to go to the museum. And they had this fantastic show on Giovanni Versace, all his clothes.
Wow.
I had no idea how detailed a designer he was, because when you're looking at a ballet, you don't get to see the outfits close up. He was amazing. So things like that, you never get to know you're going to see and experience. That was the beauty of the traveling. I mean, I can't believe that my career led me to travel around the world. I mean, it's so bizarre. If you could ask me at 20 what you're going to do for life, I had no idea.
The world is your oyster, my lady.
I know. It's amazing.
Oh, but when we do open our hearts and our heads and then just kind of go for it, you just don't know. Good for you. Jaima, we're going to take a quick break to hear from this episode sponsor. We'll be right back. I personally have been investing with Ashcroft Capital for about 5 years. I know the co-founder, Joe Fairless, pretty darn well. He's my brother, so I can personally vouch for him and how he approaches things. I like investing with Ashcroft because of the monthly cash flow. They buy apartment buildings, improve them, and then sell them. It's a good business to be in, and I'm glad to passively invest with them. You can learn more at ashcroftcapital.com. That's ASHCROFT capital.com. All right, we are back. This next segment, we are about to start wrapping up, but it is all about you. So, what feeds your soul?
I think color and pattern. Color.
Mm.
I realized years ago that if I could never be a lawyer and just work with paperwork all day. I have to have color because it definitely affects me emotionally, and I need to be around that sort of color and pattern just to give me energy and influence my creativity. Otherwise, I just feel, if you're just doing paperwork all day, it's kind of boring.
I love that.
That's really what stimulates me is color and pattern, and just seeing what people want. And one of my favorite things is to see what people, when they've used my wallpaper and they show a beautiful room a designer's created or a person, I just love seeing that end result and how it's transformed somebody's room, but also made them happy and they love it.
Well, you might have answered my next question, but you
Oh,
tell me. That's great. I love that. That was so perfect. When do you feel your greatest sense of satisfaction?
I think it's when I finished a beautiful pattern, I see it being made, because it's a bit of a journey making a product and designing it and technically and everything. And then when we actually see it installed and you actually go up in person, like I made this beautiful grass cloth, the blossom mural, and I just had redone my home in the foyer, put it up, and I realized, my gosh, seeing a sample is one thing, but when you actually see it on a wall and how it transforms a room, that's when I like it. When I see it finished and how it affects people, that is really what makes me happy. It sort of completes the whole cycle.
So fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
We hear it in your voice this entire time. Oh my gosh, you're uplifting me just by hearing you.
Well, I love it. It's amazing.
Yes. All right, my lady, we all crave great resources that might either help inspire or uplift, expand our minds, and sometimes get us through the day. Do you have a favorite? You mentioned some resources earlier, but do you have a favorite book or author, resource, mentor, anything you'd want to share with us and what makes it a favorite?
I always loved Amy Butler. She's a pattern designer for sewing, and she has trips now to Morocco, and she's always been an influence. I love watching her, how she's really changed her life over the last 15 years. I love Katie Kime. She designs wallpaper, and she just has this whole fun approach to her patterns, and I just admire that so much. I love Frances Valentine, of course. She's got great photography, beautiful clothing. It's sort of bold patterns, living boldly with color. A book I read years ago by Ben Stein, I can't remember what it was called, but it was very interesting when I read about it because I always remember his name. He was a funny guy, but he's in finance. But he wrote this book and he said, I remember sitting on the plane reading the book, and he said, when you get aggravated, I'd be looking through magazines and I think, oh, look at that. Why can't I be in a magazine, or why can't I, what is bugging me about, not getting jealous, but it's stirring up emotions in you, right? When you see something somebody's done and you want to do it. And he said, this is important to recognize because it means deep down you desire something like that and you need to listen. Because at first I thought, oh, you're being jealous, right? Or you're wanting something, don't be ridiculous. But he's right. Like there's obviously something compelling you to look at this designer or, like a famous designer and say, what is drawing me to it? Well, you have to really think about, what am I attracted to? Is it the visual? Is it the room they've done? Is it the home they've created? Or, so after I read that, I thought, you know what? That's good. That means I'm paying attention. I have a feeling for this and I should wake up and listen to that more because it could guide me to something more in my career or life. And so ever since that, I've been more aware about that.
That's profound.
Mm-hmm. It was the bizarrest thing, sitting on a plane reading the book and then looking at this, and I had this feeling. I thought, I get it. I think I know what he's talking about now.
Well, definitely, I will do some research on that and make sure we've got that link in there also, because that sounds like a fantastic read.
Yeah, it's like
Uh,
it's a small book
yeah.
because I did send it to some people. And then
Yeah.
another person I sort of just started following is Jennifer Elizabeth Hicks. She's on Instagram. She's all about the new disciplines, reading, meditating, walking outside for 30 minutes. I'm trying, sometimes I read a lot of self-help books and, motivational things. So I'm always trying little things once in a while to redo my day or what I'm going to try and see if I can, follow through and get it done for a month and see
Well,
if it
that's
does
why we're
change things.
here. So thank
Right.
you. We value that for sure. Oh my goodness. We all benefit from sharing and collaborating. So, oh goodness, thank you for the gifts. All
Well,
right,
thank
my
you.
lady, it has been beyond amazing and lovely visiting with you today and sharing you. And as we begin to wrap up, keeping the promise to share intentional inspiration with our audience, do you have a piece of key go-to advice that resonates with you, that you cling to, or that was shared with you that you'd want to share with the audience?
Yes, there's one advice I learned about 2 or 3 years ago, and it was from James Wedmore. He has a Business by Design sort of online course, and he said, "Action creates clarity." And I think that's true because sometimes I get polarized, and you analyze and polarize, and you don't get, you're stuck. But if you just start something and then you realize that's not really what I want to do, at least you tried it and you think, okay, this is not really spurring me on. So it'll help you redirect. It's kind of like I started making pillows. I have pillows, of course, but that sort of led me into fabrics. And who knows what that's going to lead to next. So, you realize, do I like it? Don't I like it? But action definitely helps create clarity.
That's where we would say mic drop.
Yep.
Yay, you. Thank you. Wow. Okay. All right, my lady. I don't want to let you go, but I know I have to.
Well, Amber, thank you so much for having me. It's been really a joy.
Yes. Well, it's back at you. I am so tickled to have this time with you. The stage is completely yours here. So please, where can our audience go to find and connect with you? You can share your socials or any contact information and support you in your continued success.
Oh, great. Thank you. You can find me on daisybennettdesigns.com. I have a website. We're just switching it over to a new platform, and it'll be more user-friendly, hopefully, by December. So you can buy wallpapers and fabrics and things. I'm also on Pinterest. I think it's Daisy Bennett Co., because you can't get the whole word on it. And I'm also on Etsy, which I think is Daisy Bennett Home. So I'm on Pinterest, Instagram, and I have my website, daisybennettdesigns.com, because my goals for moving forward is if people want help with color and pattern consulting, I'm going to sort of move and help people do that because I think I can contribute to add some value to their home doing that. And that's going to be my new thing. And that'll be hopefully on my website coming up soon.
Well, you heard it, audience. You heard it here first. So everybody be sure and watch for that. That's exciting. Good for you.
Yeah, a little
Wow.
nervous, but I'm excited.
Well, good. That means it's worth it.
Right, exactly.
Oh my goodness. All right, my lady. It has been just so inspirational. It's been invigorating listening just to your energy and your vibrancy. Thank you for sharing your silhouette of success story with us. You are a genuine light, and I appreciate you. And until next time, thank you.
Thank you so much, Amber. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at thesilhouettesofsuccess.com or connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We're grateful that you tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.